Will these 2026 movies make over or under $1 billion at the box office? There are tons of massive movies releasing next year, and while it would be easy to say, oh yeah, they're all gonna make a billion, you have to remember how hard hitting $1 billion actually is. Besides 2019, where 9 different films made over $1 billion, no other year in the history of cinema has had more than 5 films get over $1 billion. With that being said, the first movie we're gonna go over is The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I really think is gonna be hard for this movie to make $1 billion, which would have been crazy to say only a few years ago, because not only is Star Wars the biggest franchise on the planet, The Mandalorian and Grogu was one of the most popular TV shows on. And we do have things like the Demon Slayer movie this year that do prove that if you have a built-in audience for a TV show, a lot of those fans are going to go and see the big finale in theaters. The Mandalorian and Grogu doesn't even seem like it's being marketed as some big final adventure with these two characters who honestly should already be separated after the ending of season 2. It just seems like it's going to be another couple episodes of the show put into a movie format. Plus, with how bad season 3 kind of ruined the hype and momentum of the series, I don't think it's going to get anywhere close to $1 billion, so it's going in the no category. In April of next year, we're getting the Super Mario Galaxy movie. The new trailer for it looks really fun. Now, the first Super Mario Bros. Movie was a massive hit and made $1.3 billion at the box office in 2023. Now, this doesn't guarantee that the sequel is going to make more money, but I do think that Super Mario Galaxy is not only going to make $1 billion, it is going to be bigger than the first film, honestly. This thing releasing early April on Easter weekend, which is like April 5th or something super early this year, is going to be a money glitch. There's really no competition for like over a month and a half after this thing releases. It's going to be massive. Let's just get another easy one out of the way with Avengers Doomsday. This movie is guaranteed to make $1 billion. I know there's doubters out there saying that the MCU has fallen off, but Avengers movies are really just built different. If you look at the highest grossing movies of all time, not just superhero films, in the top 12, 3 of them are Avengers movies. And if movies like Deadpool and Wolverine made $1.3 billion, being an R-rated film just because it brought back different cameos in older X-Men, and Spider-Man No Way Home made almost $2 billion, bringing back the different Spider-Man, bringing like 10 times more characters than either of those movies together, this thing's gonna probably get close to $2 billion. Of course, releasing on the same exact day as Avengers Doomsday is Dune Part 3 next December. Dune Part 3 is my most anticipated movie for next year, at least it's tied with the Odyssey, and Dune Part 2 did make $700 million, which is kind of crazy. The thing about Dune Messiah, because I've read the book that is being adapted into Dune Part 3, is it is a very weird and dark book. It's not really like Dune Part 1, it's more of like an epilogue almost. Not a ton of action at all. It really isn't a book that's screaming like, turn me into a blockbuster film that's going to make $1 billion. There are easily elements in the book that aren't really explored or kind of jumped over that Denis Villeneuve I think is going to really expand upon to make the movie a bit more cinematic, kind of have that blockbuster feel to bring in like the action crowd. Also, who cares if the story's darker or weirder? If you saw Dune Part 1 and 2, the audiences are going to go and see this. As long as it's good, I think it's going to make more than Dune Part 2 actually, and again get that Avengers Doomsday boost of them being on the same day. I feel like this is going to be an event. Everybody's going to have to go and see both these films, but sadly I do think Dune Part 3 is going to come a little bit short. I think it will finish around like $8 to $850 million. Don't ask me why, but yes, we are really getting the live action Moana movie next year, even though it's only been 10 years since the release of the original animated film. But Moana is an absolute money glitch for Disney. It's been like the most watched movie on Disney Plus every single year since its release. Moana 2 was like the quietest, most forgettable $1 billion movie last year out of nowhere. Like, this thing just kept making money. And we did have Lilo and Stitch's live action remake just earlier this year, also crossing $1 billion, but I don't think Moana is going to quite get there. Like I said, kids absolutely love this franchise. It's going to make a ton of money, but I think a lot of families are going to kind of wait for this to come out on streaming because that's how they watched the first Moana anyways. And it doesn't really have that double nostalgia factor where it's like, oh, also older people that grew up with Lilo and Stitch probably went and saw the live action remake. That's not really going to happen with Moana because again, it only came out 10 years ago. Plus, this movie releases in July and there is tons of other kids movies that are going to be some massive competition for this film, so I think it's going to miss out and not make $1 billion. Moana's biggest competition is going to be Toy Story, that's releasing in late June of next year. Every Toy Story has just made more and more money. The last 2 have made over $1 billion, but just barely, so it's definitely not a guarantee that Toy Story 5 does cross that mark. And this movie dealing with like the iPad kid generation of like them forgetting about their toys and only looking at screens now is kind of a cool idea. I applaud Pixar for doing it, but you have to think like, is this going to be a big hit with kids? I don't know. I do ultimately think Toy Story is just too big and iconic of a franchise for too many different generations that this will just cross $1 billion, but it's going to be very close. It's going in the yes category though. And we have another new kids film coming out in the summer of 2026. Again, this is scheduled for July as of right now, and that is Minions 3. Now, the Despicable Me franchise is a money glitch. Like Minions The Rise of Gru made $940 million. Then we had Despicable Me 4 the other year. That also made just over like $950 million, I think it fell around. While this movie is definitely going to make a ton of money, I think there is simply too much competition in the summer of next year. That's why why Super Mario Galaxy releasing in April is so smart. It's the only kids film releasing, and it's gonna have like 2 months of no competition at the box office, whereas Minions, Moana, and Toy Story are all gonna be fighting with each other, amongst other blockbusters like Supergirl and stuff like that, to make $1 billion. I think only one of these kids films in the summer is gonna make it, and that's Toy Story. Let's switch it up a little bit, because we do have a new Steven Spielberg UFO movie releasing next year. It doesn't even have an official title. All we really know is that Emily Blunt is starring in it, and he's directing it. Yes, obviously on paper, Steven Spielberg only has one movie that's ever made $1 billion, but that's because all his big hits and classic films are from like over 30 years ago now. E.T.'s the perfect example. Yeah, the movie made $797 million, but that was in 1982. Accounting for inflation, that's like $2.6 billion in today's money. Obviously, he's made tons of the biggest movies of all time. Spielberg has made tons of movies, and none of his in the last 20, even his best ones, have really been big box office hits, so I don't think the UFO movie is going to hit $1 billion, but it should be a really good movie. Another summer movie, Supergirl, releases in June of next year. I'm really excited for this movie. I think Millie Alcock is going to be great as the character. Is going to be more of like a fantasy adventure movie set in space on all these different planets. It should be pretty beautiful to look at. We do need to just be realistic about this though. Like Superman was a big success and this made $600 million worldwide. I really don't see a world where this movie makes more than Superman. I think there is a chance it actually gets closer than people think though, because Superman is pulling in tons of numbers on HBO Max and people renting it. It's apparently already made over like another $100 million just on digital. So if this movie catches fire and even makes around like $500 million, that would be a really big success and a next big step in the DCU, but it's not making $1 billion. Michael Jackson biopic is one of the most interesting movies to talk about its box office because the trailer is setting records. Michael Jackson is one of, if not like the most famous celebrity to ever live. If you look at the highest grossing musical biopics of all time, like it's guaranteed to at least be number 2 and has a very good chance of hitting number 1 or soaring over $1 billion, but I'm not so sure if it's going to make $1 billion. Like I said, that's not me saying this movie is going to be a flop. If it makes under like $700 to $800 million, I would be absolutely shocked. The only thing I'm worried about is that this movie is obviously targeting kind of older generations, people that are fully adults now, grew up with Michael Jackson. Obviously, a lot of younger people do like Michael Jackson too, but I feel like the older generation has kind of given up on movie theaters. They just wait for things to come out to rent at home or stream, but this might be the movie that changes that and brings people out to the theaters that haven't been in like 5+ years. I could easily see that happening. Even though I see all these reasons I've laid out of why it won't hit $1 billion, my gut just says that this movie is going to be like an event and soar over $1 billion, so I'm gonna put it in the yes category. I could easily see this one being the only one wrong. The Michael Jackson one was just too close to call though, so let's switch to a super easy one, which is the Clayface movie. Guaranteed not making $1 billion, but I think it's gonna be a very profitable film. I think movies like Clayface is where the DCU is really gonna succeed in a way completely separate from how the MCU operates, because this is gonna be like a lower budget, it costs like $30 million, body horror film. Almost every horror film that has like reasonable marketing makes a lot of money because they're so cheap to make, and obviously this is a bigger scale horror film, but still attaching the DC brand to it, I think it's going to be really profitable. We are getting Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey next July. This movie is going to be an absolute event. The Odyssey literally already sold out tickets for the opening day in 70mm IMAX. The movie doesn't come out until July, and they already sold out the tickets for it, which is insane. Oppenheimer, again, it was helped by the Barbenheimer hype, but it made almost $1 billion as an R-rated biopic. And while I know we live in a time where pretty much only massive franchise IP movies make $1 billion, Christopher Nolan truly has become his own like franchise at this point. Like when he has a new movie out, everybody knows it's an event you gotta see in theaters. They've been going so hard on the marketing for this thing. Like I said, they already sold tickets for the movie. The teaser has been in theaters since July for this movie. Like they know this is going to be a massive event, and The Odyssey is one of, if not the most famous story ever told. I think Nolan's really gonna establish himself with an all-time great film. I think it's making $1 billion. We're getting the new Hunger Games movie, which is Sunrise on the Reaping. I guess the Hunger Games franchise is huge, and this movie does have a pretty stacked cast, honestly. Like this is an incredible cast. The highest grossing Hunger Games film was around like $860 million with Catching Fire, so I don't think this like prequel spin-off type of movie is gonna make more than one of the mainline ones, so I'm gonna say no, it's not making $1 billion. Spider-Man Brand New Day releases next year in July, and it's actually not getting any IMAX screens because The Odyssey is taking all of them. So while yes, that's going to help The Odyssey because the IMAX tickets, more seats, they're more expensive, it's gonna make a lot more money because of that. It's not gonna hurt Spider-Man not being in IMAX. I think like this movie is gonna make a ton. Spider-Man No Way Home made almost $2 billion, which I understand was kind of a special circumstance with Tobey and Andrew coming back, but Spider-Man Far From Home, which I think is a super mediocre movie, still made over $1 billion, and this being the last movie releasing for Doomsday, it's gonna be massive. It's making $1 billion, let's not lie to ourselves. Now I know we're not even in 2026 yet, but if you want to see my predictions for what movies will flop or succeed at the 2027 box office, click the video above my head right now, and thank you for watching.